Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Bitcoin video. We need to discuss the recent price action on Bitcoin because we've seen something quite interesting. We've seen MtGox actually sending $7 billion worth of Bitcoin to wallet addresses, essentially paying back users of the exchange. Obviously, MtGox was an old exchange that got hacked way back. I think it was 2013. I could be wrong on that. And essentially, they're in the process of paying back their users, right, who lost their funds during the hack. And they've been doing this for years, making payments since 2018. I don't think they've made a payment for about 5 years now, though. And so now they've sent $7 billion just in kind of a few hours period, and this has led to a breakdown on Bitcoin. So we're going to discuss that breakdown, discuss what it means for the Bitcoin charts, because it is a breakdown. It's an actual breakdown here on the RSI and on the price chart, or threatening to do so on the price chart. And so we need to kind of look into that and give a kind of damage report on what's going on with Bitcoin right now and where our invalidation zones are, because obviously I'm macro bullish on Bitcoin still. I still believe we're in a macro bull market. So before we get into a full analysis, go ahead and check out the Bitcoin exchange, guys. This is a global non-KYC exchange. It's new, it's small, okay? And if you don't want that, I've got bigger exchanges here. I've got BingX and BitGet. So I advertise 3 exchanges here. I've handpicked them all for specific reasons. They all fit a different use case for what you're looking for, and you can find more information in the description below. None of those exchanges have been hacked before. They've all got protection funds in case they do get hacked. And my referral links down below will give you access to 15% trading fee discounts for life on those exchanges if you sign up with my links below. So go ahead and do that if you're interested. Let's get into the actual content. So again, this drop on Bitcoin actually lined up pretty much perfectly with MtGox sending assets to different wallet addresses. It wasn't as big as people make it out to be, really. I mean, it was only a very, very small drop. I mean, from the original time they sent the assets, they sent the Bitcoin, I think when Bitcoin was at 69,000, actually clarifies on this article right here. As you can see, they moved various transactions between 4,000 Bitcoin and 33,000 Bitcoin, totaling 107,000 Bitcoin, $7.3 billion to unknown wallet addresses. Bitcoin only dipped 2%. Originally, the first transaction was made. I'm pretty sure they clarified in this article. Otherwise, I can go back and check. I could probably just check the chart. The fact of the matter is, first transaction was made about 6 hours from the time we're filming this video. So 6 hours ago, Bitcoin would have been in the 69.3K, 69.4K price region. We only really dropped downwards to 67.4K. So the drop really was only a 3% drop. It was actually a very minor drop. But the reason why it was an important drop isn't because necessarily how far we moved downwards. It was a very minor drop in terms of the price. What happened, though, on the RSI structures is what's a little bit concerning about this drop. You can see on the 4-hourly chart RSI right here, we have this ascending support line on 4-hourly chart RSI. It's a support line that actually held from the 1st of May. And what you'll notice is that the 1st of May wasn't just a random day on Bitcoin. The 1st of May was when we actually found our bottom in this entire price range. That's when we found the perfect macro bottom that led to this move to the upside. That was the bottom of this kind of head formation that we eventually broke at 67K. So that RSI line from the day of the macro bottom on Bitcoin, and by macro bottom, I mean the range bottom, that RSI line stemmed from that day. So it's a very major line. It held Bitcoin upwards throughout the entirety of this move, down from that low at 57K, 28% up as we moved from that point. And now that support line's actually broken down. And we went upwards, we retested that support line for resistance, and then the MtGox news came in, and then we were rejected from that support line. We got clamped right down, we pushed downwards. So that's not good because that's a resistance support flip. So that's not good. That's not indicative of good bullish price action. In fact, it does indicate bearish price action to come. And then another thing we saw, and this is perhaps a little bit more important, ignore all the random yellow lines in the price chart. I'm going to get into those in a second because they all actually do mean something. I just want to look at the RSI for the time being. Unfortunately, we also broke down not only from the 4-hourly chart RSI on Bitcoin, we also broke down from a daily chart triangle on Bitcoin. Again, this daily chart triangle in a very similar fashion to the 4-hourly chart RSI. It stemmed from, the bottom line of the triangle stemmed from May 1st, which was our range-bound bottom here at 57K. We broke down from that line very, very clearly after testing it multiple times over the last, basically month here. So not good. We've got a breakdown on the 4-hourly chart resistance support flip, and we've got a breakdown on the daily chart RSI. These are not good signs. But what's important to note, right? And here's where we get into what's really critical, okay? Even though we've seen these RSI breakdowns, it's very, very important to note that, we'll speak about macro in a second. We'll speak about the health of the bull market in a second. But even on a medium-term scale, The RSI breakdowns have not yet led to negative price action, even on a medium-term scale, because even on a medium-term scale, we're still holding above the important medium-term support zone. Okay, let me explain that a little bit further. Right, zoom out totally. What are the critical lines right now for Bitcoin? Well, of course, we have the bottom here at 57K, very important line for this range. We have the level at 61.3K, which is the highest ever monthly candle close we saw in 2021's bull market, and a very important support zone for this range. You can see that basically every single test of the bottom of this range, besides one of them, has been bouncing from that 61K level, very important level. And then we have this green level right here at 67,000. And this is really the important level right now. This is the immediately important level, because 67,000 is actually what has been characterized basically as the most important support zone and resistance zone on Bitcoin since April 12th. When we originally dropped below that level, you can find resistance and support from it. We tested it. We kind of plunged down, testing support, and every single bounce, we were knocked back down from that 67K level until we finally broke it to the upside and saw the biggest daily candle we saw in months for Bitcoin. So it's very clear, and it's also clear by the fact we have this kind of inverted head and shoulders pattern here under 67K, and the fact that we've had a bullish retest of 67K quite recently. The point is, it's very clear that this green level at 67,000 is what is what is really the definition of the support zone, the medium-term support zone within the larger range-bound structure. So the range-bound structure I'm talking about is between 57K and the all-time high at 73. That is the entire range, okay? And the kind of the important level in the middle of this range-bound structure is 67K and 61K. 61K is not immediately important because we have 67K dividing us from that level, right? So right now, the important level to the downside for Bitcoin is 67K. As long as we're above 67K, nothing on a medium-term basis has changed at all, let alone a long-term basis. So the long-term is completely fine. I'll speak about that more in a second. I want to talk about my bull market invalidation zones in a second because they do need to be talked about. But the long-term is exceptionally fine. And the medium term, we've seen indications that perhaps will go down more, but it hasn't actually occurred yet. We've only seen the validations come from RSI. And they could very well be fake outs because, as we've identified, those RSI breakdowns have occurred mainly due to what's happened in news events. This is a black swan event. No one knew what MtGox was going to be doing today. No one's even heard of, no one's even been talking about MtGox for months now, right? It just came out of nowhere. No one knew this was going to happen. It was unpredictable. It was a black swan event. So I don't necessarily hold these RSI breakdowns to a massive degree of weight, especially considering they haven't actually led to a price breakdown yet. Now, if I open the charts tomorrow and these RSI breakdowns have resulted in an actual breakdown below 67K and a flip, okay, cool. Then we can start discussing the medium-term bearish scenarios. But until that's occurred, it's actually quite surprising to say. It might be surprising to you to say, but until that's occurred, in wake of these RSI breakdowns, even in wake of these RSI breakdowns, actually nothing's changed at all. Everything's kind of the same. What we're really waiting for now on Bitcoin is, again, either a move below 67, in which case we'd be targeting lower, or within the range, that is, or a break above the red rectangle between 71.3 and 72K. Now that we've clarified kind of a short-term price action, medium-term price action, we'll definitely update you on that tomorrow when we have some more clarity about what's actually going on, because right now, believe it or not, we actually don't have much clarity. We have to kind of wait and see how Bitcoin reacts to these RSI breakdowns. Is it actually going to take them on board? Is it actually going to, lead to a correction here? Or is it going to be fine? Because realistically, right, even if Bitcoin went down on a medium-term scale, our recent low was this 61K level. We could go down and form a higher low anywhere in here. It just would be slightly messy. Ideally, we want to see Bitcoin hold the 67K zone and bounce from here. That's what we were expecting, but unfortunately, the Black Swan event has kind of muddled that up for us. It's not invalid by any means yet because we haven't lost the 67K level, but again, the Black Swan event has muddled that up for us. If we zoom in on the shorter term charts on Bitcoin, we go to the 4-hourly chart with all these yellow lines, you can see very clearly it might just seem like, it's a mess here, but pay very close attention. Every single one of these yellow lines has been respected very extensively in recent Bitcoin price action. And it's only when we saw this Black Swan event that they stopped being respected, right? We just dropped through 3 of them in one go, right? So it just shows you that this event was highly unpredictable and there's nothing really we can do about it. Perhaps we're forming some kind of new structure here, in which case it would be a bullish pennant formation. So yeah, look, there's always hope here. I'm not necessarily resigned to the fact that Bitcoin's going to be going down even on a shorter term scale. I personally am just waiting and seeing. But macro term, because this is what's really important, right? We can talk about what's going to happen in the next week or two all day. Doesn't really mean anything. What matters is the macro, okay? And right now, as of current, and let's just zoom out here for a second, right? Why was I so confident about a month ago that Bitcoin was going to be retesting 57K and holding that level? Guys, I predicted this 57K retest when we were up in the 70K region back in March, okay? I didn't just come up with it out of thin air, right? I looked at the charts very extensively and I found that the 57K level was a magnet, okay? We were being pulled towards it. Why were we being pulled towards it? Well, we were being pulled towards it because of volume profile showing it's a very important horizontal support zone. You can see the spike there on the volume profile at 57K region. We were also being pulled towards it because of a 13-year long ascending support line on Bitcoin stemming from the origins of Bitcoin's price action, pretty much all the way back in 2011 and lining up perfectly with 57K, which we retested to the T, okay? On top of that, the bull market support band was at 57K. On top of that, there was an order block region there again, which is the volume profile. On top of that, we have the pi cycle center lines in green and yellow on the screen here, which were there as well. And those lines, just like the bull market support band, have been critical to Bitcoin bull markets in the past. The fact of the matter is, the 57K level was a very important level, but it's important to note now, the reason why I'm bringing it up again, right, because it's almost old news at this point, is because 57K isn't our macro invalidation zone because it's 57K. 57K was our macro invalidation zone because of the indicators that were at that price region. Now, what do I mean by macro invalidation? I mean that if we drop below that level, the bull market's over, all right? And as I'm saying here, it wasn't my macro invalidation zone wasn't 57K because it's 57K. It was at 57K because of all the indicators that were compiled in that region. Those indicators are moving upwards, okay? So bull market support band's no longer at 57K. It's currently sitting at 60K. Pi cycle center lines, they're currently sitting at 58.5. The 13-year ascending support line's currently sitting at 59K. So actually, although you might be looking at Bitcoin's price action and thinking, oh, look, it's been moving sideways for months now. This is really bad. We're going to lose so much money. First of all, there's absolutely zero confirmation that Bitcoin is doing anything that is not normally expected here. What we're doing right now is, by all metrics of regular macro TA, healthy. And there's no reason to be scared on a macro scale. No breakdowns have occurred yet on a macro scale yet. But secondly of all, it's actually not a bad thing necessarily, even if we're taking a bearish approach, that Bitcoin is lurking here, because that's actually making our invalidation zone move upwards and upwards and upwards, so that if a drop actually does occur, if Bitcoin does actually end up dropping downwards and the bull market does actually end up being over, we'll lose less money because we'll sell out quicker because our invalidation zone will be higher. So what's happening now actually is kind of a win-win scenario. Of course, I don't want the bull market to be over. And I don't want you to take me even speaking about it as a suggestion that I might think it is. I don't think it is. I think the bull market's very much intact. I think that we will be at all-time highs on Bitcoin sometime within June. I do believe that. That's what the current data suggests. I'm just saying that if I'm wrong, and if we do actually go downwards and break down below those macro invalidation zones, the good news is those macro invalidation zones are continuously moving upwards, so that if we do get to the point where we need to sell, we'll be selling at not much of a loss, or at a steadily decreasing amount of loss the longer we lurk in this price region. I hope that makes sense. But the fact of the matter is here, fundamentally, is that we need to pay attention to short-term, medium-term price action over the next couple of days. There is a scenario that Bitcoin goes downwards here in short-term, medium-term, and if that does occur, we will need to assess the situation quite closely. But right now, as of current, it's bad news, but it's not the end of the world because nothing's actually been validated yet. And that's the exact same thing can be said about medium-term and short-term. And the macro right now is just, looking good. It's the same as always, really. Nothing's changed on macro. Short-term, medium-term are perhaps looking quite bad in comparison to what they were looking at, 2 or 3 days ago, but they've actually haven't really confirmed anything yet. So it's hard to discuss anything with any specific degree of clarity here. All I can say is what I've said. And I hope you find that information that I kind of discussed here today beneficial. But I'll definitely be sure to update you on the situation tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some more progressions there. We'll have some more things to talk about, actual valid things to talk about, things that have been validated. Let's wait and see. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, the 3 exchanges, their links are down below. Sign up for those exchanges for the 15% trading fee discount. We've got the Crypto Academy's bull market sale right now. Again, running a sale for the bull market. So limited time sale to celebrate the bull market. If you want to learn how to trade, you want to educate yourself on TA and trading, that's where you can do it. The link is down below for all the information. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, the VIP group on Telegram, okay? Altcoin trading signals 4 to 5 times a week and access to a 24/7 group chat with other VIP members. You're not really going to get much better than that. And the PDF of all the historical trading results is available there free of charge. You can check out my trading results. I'm fully transparent with it. I've got nothing to hide. In fact, I'm very proud of it. So go ahead and check it out if you're interested. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you tomorrow. Cheers.